Hey, Shelly. All right, so I'm just allowing everybody into the call, so just give it a few seconds here. It's 1 o'clock.
Hi, I forgot to unmute myself.
Hey. Yeah, talk to me. It's so quiet. So when everybody's on mute, it's so weird. It's like I just hear myself.
I'm here. Okay, I'm gonna go on mute now. Bye.
Hi, Ellen. All right, so it's just one after one. I'm going to give it a little bit of time for everybody to jump in on the call. Call will be recorded, and we got a bunch of good updates as far as contracts and disclosures. Yay, fun stuff, right? Everybody's favorite topic. But it's a must. And so June is marking the time frame when the new revisions and new updates to disclosures are coming out. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of information about what to expect. And I'm also going to share with you guys a little bit about the new RPA that's coming out in the end of this year. So hopefully December. And it's a doozy, guys, 16 pages. So people still jumping in on the call, so just bear with. All right. There's Rod. Sean with the Cinco de Mayo hat. I love it. Dude, nice. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. So cool. Show off. He's got his hat on. All right. So we got about 24 people already on the call and people still signing in. So I'm going to kick things off, guys. Happy Cinco de Mayo. Welcome, everybody, to today's Zoom call. We're going to make it as short and sweet as possible. We got a lot of good information to cover. First things first, though, I just want to say it was such an amazing month as we roll into May. Everybody's been slammed in with numbers still rolling in. We're going to probably wait until next week before we can announce our top salesperson for the month of April and top team and everybody else. But great job. Congratulations, everybody. I mean, it's just the market's been insane, right? It's crazy. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up in April, or I'm sorry, next week. We'll announce our top salesperson for there. But as busy as we've seen this market, it's pretty safe to say that, you know, this is an industry-wide issue, right? It's a challenge. And the reason I'm talking about this is because it's not just the lender, it's not just escrow, it's not just us as realtors and buyers agents. Every single department, affiliate, ancillary service, everybody, title has been experiencing major just bottlenecking and just delays, right? So I think it's imperative that we understand this and we have to set that expectation up front with our clients. Please, you guys, don't wait till the end of the escrow, especially for you new agents. Don't rely on the very end of the deal to explain to them that, oh no, what happened? Why is this going to take an extra 2 days? I wasn't aware that, you know, the title lien or that the loan or that the escrow company, whatever, you know, this is something that's happening industry wide, you guys. So be expecting that and prep your clients, right? Just prepare them. So with that, I wanted to make sure that we don't drop the ball and that we actually continue offering excellent service across the board, and especially with escrow. So America's Escrow, I was going to have her on the call, but they're just so busy that I figured, you know what, it's not the best time to do so. But so Iris, Iris Mackey is our newest addition, our new escrow officer. And Shelly, we're probably expecting to have her on the call to introduce herself probably next week. But, you know, be on the lookout because she's going to be also going to the offices and meeting with everybody and introducing herself. Is that right, Shelly?
Yeah, we're super excited. You guys are going to love her. And she's already been opening escrows with several of you. So hopefully that's going really well. But I just want to piggyback on what Felipe was saying. I mean, this is an industry problem. I know a lot of different escrow officers and people at different companies that are sharing with me. They're calling me saying, do you know of an assistant? Do you know of different people? Because everybody's scrambling. So, you know, we are not the only ones that are experiencing this. And so just keep in mind that if it's you, a buyer's, a seller, a selling agent, a lender, and a TC, that are all involved in that transaction, and every single one of those people are emailing your escrow officer to get updates. Can you just imagine how many emails those poor girls are getting? So try to coordinate where maybe there's just one person trying to get an update or something, because those poor girls are getting emails like you cannot believe and phone calls. And so they're trying really quickly to respond, but if everybody in the transaction is emailing them, it makes it really hard and they get really behind. So just keep that in mind. Just give them some grace on timing and responses. So, because like I said, it is an industry-wide problem right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, especially if you're new to the industry, you know, before you start sending out emails, just double check with people. I mean, ask me, ask Shelly, ask around. Let's make sure we can answer those questions before we just go to the lender, the escrow, the title. It might save you guys a ton of time and get the answers a lot quicker too. And that's kind of the goal. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So thank you for sharing that, Shelly. Also, marketing update. Shelly, you have a date in mind for our videographer, correct?
Yeah, we have Kyle coming in on Thursday, May 20th at noon. So be sure to reach out to Amber. She'll be sending out an email as well. And I did post it on our private page. If you want a time slot with Kyle, you do need to make an appointment or a time slot with him so that he knows how many people and he can accommodate everybody. But this is a great time to create your content. Come in, think of a topic. If you need help thinking of a topic, reach out to me or someone in marketing and we can help you. But be relevant and be ahead of it. So do some videos that you have in your library that you can keep using. But this is an awesome opportunity to get that done on May 20th.
May 20th, and just to confirm, that's going to be here in the Temecula office this time. If everybody's open to it, if you guys want to mix it up, if you want to shoot videos at a different location, just let me know. Let Shelly and I know, shoot us an email, shoot Amber an email. We'll make an appointment at another location. If we have to go to Elsinore, the Storm Stadium, wherever, especially now that things are opening back up, great opportunity to do so. Take advantage of it. And don't be so worried if you're camera shy. If you're camera shy, guys, you don't have to do video of yourself. You can take the opportunity that we're paying this videographer to do voiceover, right? I mean, the goal is to set and build branding for yourself, but don't just think that I have to be in front of a camera. You don't have to. I mean, some of you guys are rock stars on the camera. I know some of you guys are natural, but if you're worried about it, if you're a little bit scared to be in front of the camera, not naming names, right? Just don't worry about it. You can do voiceover, okay? And you can highlight your areas, your communities, why you got into the business, sell your value, guys. This is a branding opportunity for all of us, okay? Take advantage of that. I hope to see a lot of you guys on the 20th. Thank you so much for setting that up, Shelly, and the marketing team. Great job. So every week, I want to try to go into highlighting one tool, one feature, one thing of value that we offer at the company that helps you guys in your business that you might not be aware of, right? So last week, I talked about the C21 Tracker app. I know most of you probably haven't had time because we're all so busy to take a look at it. It's on 21 Online, but the one I wanted to talk about today, this afternoon, is Real Satisfied. And the reason I want to bring it up, you guys, is because most of you received an email from the Board of Realtors where Real Satisfied is a company that the Board of Realtors was offering to agents, not C21, everybody, to participate in. And now they are going to charge you if you want to continue utilizing it. So I'm here to let you know, do not pay for Real Satisfied through the board, because guess what? We offer that already. We've always offered that through Century 21, okay? So if you got the email from the board saying, hey, if you want to keep Real Satisfied, you have to pay $70 a month, that is not for you guys, okay? You already have access to that. It's already included with everything that you guys get from Century 21. So do not pay for that. Hopefully that's the message gets across clear and you guys don't spend that money. You don't have to, okay? If you need assistance with setting it up, it's all on 21 Online. And next week I'll go ahead and dive in and I'll share with you guys how step-by-step to make sure that your clients are getting access to it. But it's super simple and it starts with a dash form, right? Put your client's information on there, their email, and make sure it's the correct email, and the information will get out there. The survey will be sent out to your customers so that you guys get the survey, okay? I think the board was charging like $60 or $70 a month for that. So you guys do not have to pay for that. All right, still have people coming in onto the call. So welcome everybody. If you're just jumping in, this news just in, breaking news, the courts just struck down the eviction ban. Okay, so that's the latest news coming from NAR. The courts have stricken down the eviction ban, calling it unconstitutional. More information to follow. Basically, just the last pushback for the eviction ban, I believe, from the Biden administration was until June of this year. Paul, is that correct? They were pushing it back to June, so they just actually just posted it today. So they're striking on that, and they're saying that it's going to be banned. So, or that it's going to be removed. So what does that mean? Well, more to follow. Okay, that news just came out. We're looking into it, but just keep an eye open for that. Out of over 100 properties, property management, Paul and the team are doing a fabulous job, an amazing job. I think we only have one out of over 100 that rule will apply to, or that we have to be concerned with. So great job, guys. Communication is key. Okay, so that's coming up. And I hope this doesn't lead to more conversations of people saying, oh, here come the wave of foreclosures. Because guess what? I think we've already kind of beaten that, to a pulp. I mean, if anything, it's going to be less than 5% of the industry, okay, in our area specifically, right? So those of you that are prepared for short sales, great job. Congratulations. If you're an REO specialist, great job. Congratulations. You guys are setting the tone. You're ready to go. But I don't feel that this is going to be like it was back in 07, 08, where we're going to experience these waves of people foreclosing. The reason for that, and these are talking points for you guys to get with your clients when they ask you, the reason for it, it's simple. People have equity, right? Every house has equity right now. So why would I foreclose when I can sell and cash in? Okay, most of the times there's enough equity to make it work in this market, in this day and age. Shout out to Jennifer Holquist. She just told me today, Abelia listed at $775, got an offer for $860,000. That's insane, you guys. Almost $100,000 more than the list price. But again, people have equity, right? So I don't see us going into the same issue that we had back in the REO days, at least not as bad, okay? So that's the latest news. Other than, make sure you guys get a chance, check out Real Satisfied, don't pay that fee to the board, and make sure you guys take a look at the Tracker app. Did anybody, just real quick, kind of dive into it or try it that they want to share? Maybe a success story? Not really? Nobody? Everybody's busy? We're good? Okay, no problem. So what I want to do, you guys, I want to jump right into disclosures. So as we said before, every single June and December, we can expect that we're going to get revisions, new forms, and also now a new RPA coming December of this year. Like I said before, 16 pages, pretty ridiculous. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We'll jump right into it. And chime in if you guys have questions, go right ahead. All right, so the first thing I want to start off with, and I'm going to send this to everybody after today's call, is the quick summary release. Every single year, every single 6 months, they come out with this. And it goes over the form acronym, the name of the form, if it's new or if it's revision, and a brief description. So these first two, just FYI, are still pending an outcome. So we're not going to get into the first two. First one we're going to go over is FHDS. So I don't know if you guys remember, January of this year, we had a brand new form, fire hardening, disclosure, I believe it was called. So it's already got a revision. There's already a new form. It's the FHDS. And it tells you right here, it modifies the existing home fire hardening form, okay? I'm gonna show you guys the form so you can see the revisions that were made. Basically, the only thing it's adding is this new sentence describing defensible space advisory, okay? So I'm gonna show you the actual form. All you need to be worried about this one is already included. When you type in fire hardening, this is the form that's going to replace the old form. Okay, it's brand new, but it's going to replace it. So you don't have to worry about pulling up the old form. Some of you have still templates. If you're using templates, make sure you ixnay the old one. Okay, going down the list. Let's see, buyer's representation agreement. Chime in, does anybody use successfully a buyer representation agreement? when working with buyers. Highly suggested. Does anybody use it currently in their practice when working with buyers? No? All right. So I guess we don't have to get into it. So buyer representation agreement, exclusive agreement is definitely a form to take a look at, you guys, especially if you're working with buyers, if you want to avoid getting burned, right? Take a look at it. If you have any questions, come grab me afterwards or just email me. We can chat about how to best utilize that form. Cooperating broker compensation. There's some changes to that. I'm not going to show you guys the form on today for CBC, but the CBC, just important to understand, if you need to verify the commission that's being offered on the MLS, use this form. If you're working with a for sale by owner, use this form. Anytime that you're unsure or there's confusion of what the amount's going to be paid to you, make sure you use this form to specify the compensation that you're agreeing to, okay? So who can chime in? ESD, the exempt seller disclosure, just to kind of narrow it down. This form is being used only when a seller needs to disclose material fact and they are not required to submit a TDS SPQ. Okay, so there's a couple changes on that form, but I'm not showing those today. Nothing major. Does anybody use the property images agreement? Chime in. PIA, property images agreement, has to do with photographs. Anybody use it? I'm going to say like Bueller, anyone? No? Okay. So the property images agreement, the new, somebody's chatting on there. Let's see what they're saying. Lori Busker, when we requested a higher BA. Okay. Going back to the CBC, the cooperating broker compensation form, if you're requesting more commission, something different than the MLS is showing, use that form. Thank you for that, Lori. Great idea. Great feedback there.
Yeah, we used that, Felipe, on that one listing that I was representing the buyer on successfully because it was a ridiculous amount. And that's when we had more leverage. Excellent. So they accepted that. But this is a different market right now. But anyways, just thought I'd throw that in there.
Thank you for chiming in. So the property images agreement, just I think it's good to discuss that for a quick second. There's a paragraph that was added because we all know that we're using most of us are using professional photographers when we take a listing, so that's kind of the norm. But photographers are really getting fancy and they're starting to include and incorporate drone photography, aerial photography. So the PIA form actually just talks about regulations and rules about that we're not using and selling anybody's privacy, that, you know, they're allowing you to use those photographs and images on the internet. So make sure to take a look at that. Who can share with me why we would use an RFA, a referral fee agreement?
If we get a referral from, for instance, Century 21 Global or the referral network, we have to use that in order to transfer the deal to us or transfer the deal to someone else if it's out of the area or out of state, and brokers have to approve it, and then we pay a referral fee or they pay us a referral fee.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for that, Lori. So yes, the RFA, anytime we're dealing with a referral, you guys, get used to this form. We're seeing more and more referral business coming in and out of California. So get used to this form, because if you want to make sure you get paid for sending out a referral, you have to send this form with it. Okay. The referral fee agreement, keep in mind, we have the CAR version, the California Association version. Don't be shocked if you get a referral from somebody on the East Coast, they don't use CAR forms, right? So just be aware, you're going to get something that looks completely different, but it should have close to the same verbiage. All right. Listing agreement has a lot of new paragraphs. We're going to talk about those. I'm going to actually show you guys those paragraphs. The other one that's important is there's some changes to the SBSA, the Statewide Buyer and Sellers Advisory. So I'm going to show you guys those changes. And the SPRP, the Seller's Purchase of Replacement Property, also has some changes that recognize the seller can satisfy the condition of the replacement property. Okay, so I'm going to actually show you some of the forms, And I'm going to start with the FHDS. Like I said, I'm just going to kind of highlight and go over the ones that are most important that we're utilizing right now. So we're going to start off with the FHDS, and I'm going to enlarge it just a little bit here. Hopefully you guys can see that. So the good news is the forms I'm going to send you guys has in red, it has highlighted some of the changes or additions. But this one, the only thing that they added was this right here. It's a fire hardening and defensible space advisory. And if we look at, sorry, somebody's jumping in the call. If we look at paragraph A2, this is what's new on here, defensible space compliance. The disclosure and requirements specified in paragraph 4 are only required on residential properties that contain 1 to 4 units and not or, it says and I know, I think Carol Preston and I were talking about this the other day. So just keep in mind, guys, this form applies to 1 to 4 units and located in a high or very high fire hazard area zone, right? So that's for the defensible space. The fire hardening disclosure is for 1 to 4 units constructed before 2010 and is in a high fire hazard area. So if the house is built after 2010, this form does not apply. If the house is built before 2010 and it's in a high fire hazard area, then this form applies. Okay, keep that in mind. So going on to the next one, we're going to look today at the, well, let's see what I put. I put them in order, I think. And if you guys are having a hard time seeing it, let me know. So the RFA, I pulled that up real quick because I wanted you guys to see it, because get used to this form. We're seeing a ton of referrals coming in and going out. So get used to this form and always fill out this form first before sending your client's information on an outgoing referral, if that makes sense. So the addition of this form is very simple, you guys. It's got referring broker, the recipient broker's information. Where it says principal, what I used to do or what I recommend you guys do, you can put your client's name. Don't put a number in an email. Get it signed first if you're sending it out for signature. Once they agree to your percentage, whatever you guys agree to, 25, 35%, whatever it is, then you can provide them with your client's information, if that makes sense. Probably the best practice, the way I know how to do it. The addition here is it's saying that they're agreeing to the referral of blank % or dollar amount, okay, upon recording, but it added this verbiage. It says from the date of the agreement, principal, if they enter into a contract. So now it's not just saying if they buy or sell. If they enter into a contract, that gives you the right for consideration for getting that referral, okay? Obviously, if they don't close, nobody gets paid, so to speak. But this way, you're at least able to get into a contract to buy, sell, lease, transfer, do whatever. You're going to be in consideration for receipt of a referral, okay? So that way, when you put the time frame on there, whether that's 12 months, 6 months, I would recommend just doing it for 12 months, whether they buy or sell, okay? That's the referral fee, pretty straightforward. All right, so let's get into a tougher one. The listing contract. So residential listing contract, I think we have a couple listing specialists in the call today. There are some changes to our RLA, our listing agreement, that I want to share with you guys today. The first one's on paragraph 10C, okay? That's the important one. So I'm going to scroll down to paragraph 10C. And paragraph 10C is added to address buyer's letters. So I know we've talked about this before. What's our policy on buyer letters, you guys? It's pretty simple, right? It can dive into or cross the lines of fair housing. So you want to make sure that when we're representing a seller, we don't accept buyer's letters. And so paragraph 10C adds the verbiage of offer letters or buyer's letters. And when we say buyer's letters, if you're new or it's the first time hearing it, we're talking about when buyers submit a letter with a photo of their family to the potential seller, okay? We want to try to avoid that because we want to avoid any fair housing or discrimination. And it clearly states, paragraph 8 of the Fair Housing and Discrimination Advisory, informs the seller of the practice of many buyers and their agents, including buyer letters with an offer, to try to influence a seller to accept the offer. I know that it was practice that we've done for a long time. Just try to stay away from it. Don't accept them. And paragraph 10C2 clearly states seller instructs broker not to present buyer letters. Cut and dry. We're not accepting them. That's what it says right here. Now, there is an option, that is the default, but the option is, or B, if you check the box, seller instructs broker to present buyer letter, but the broker advises the seller that they may be in jeopardy of breaching that Fair Housing Discrimination Act, right? So again, the default is straightforward. So seller instructs broker, don't present them, right? That's the default. Don't accept them. So I know some of you may have questions on this. If you do, go ahead and chime in now. I'll give it a second. No, then we're moving forward. The other thing that has been added to this is 10E, investigations and reports. So they've added and identified a couple additional reports that the seller might want to order at the time of the listing. One of those being the NHD, Natural Hazard Disclosure Report. And it says on the quick summary, it says previously such reports were only provided to the buyers, but the sellers may need to review the reports so that the seller can determine if a disclosure is required for home hardening, right? Remember, we need to know if it's in a high fire zone. So if the home is older than 2010, it might be a good idea to look at an NHD prior to going to escrow. Yes, Becky, you have a question. Oh, your hand's raised, but you're
yes. So I spoke to Steve Strickland, and I had just asked him if there was a way for us to check if the house was in that fire zone, the high fire zone, and he said no. You're gonna have to order your NHDs ahead of time if you guys want to know if that disclosure is going to be required. I was trying to find a way for us to punch in the address and see if it is before we actually order the NHD, but he says no, because it's changing. When they go to pull the report, he says that's when you're going to get the most accurate information from your NHD company.
Right. And so we've always had the ability to, thank you for that. We've always had the ability to pre-order inspections on a listing, such as termite or wood destroying pests, title reports, things of that nature. But this is the new addition, is now the addition of the NHD report, just for that reason, because we don't really know if the home is or is not in a high fire zone or an extreme high fire area. So now it's going to be an addition to the listing agreement, paragraph 10E. Okay. If any other questions on that, that covers our listing agreement. You guys proud of me? I'm going through these pretty quickly, right? I'm making them as painless as possible.
Felipe, I have a quick question on the
yes.
on the offer letters, the buyer, the buyer yes. photos and letters. On my listing, when I represented this last seller, I received, even though these agents know the rules, I received, I think 5 out of 10 of the offers had a video they sent over, or pictures, full color pictures, this whole 1 or 2 pages about them. I did not present them, nor did I talked to my seller about this ahead of time. Mm-hmm. And is it okay if I just feel like we're getting into some murky water here as listing agents if we allow them to receive those. What do you think on that? Can we just advise them to do it straight across the board? I won't present these, or what do you think?
Yeah, so good point. And that's why I'm saying that, yes, the new rule is, and the default is on your listing agreement, paragraph 10C2, seller instructs broker not to represent or not to present buyer letters. They're just not being submitted. If the buyer is going to tell you, or if the seller is going to tell you specifically, Lori, I don't care what the rules say, I want you to show me any letters and videos and blah, blah, blah. You have to make sure you check this box, because this is the CYA. This is the cover your butts, right? Hey, we're going to advise you that the buyer letter contains information about protected classes or characteristics and information that should not be used in the seller's decision whether to accept, reject, or counter. Okay, so I would definitely keep in line with what you're suggesting and saying, which is just don't accept them. That's our policy. Don't accept them. If it's your listing and if you represent the buyer, don't get in the habit of sending those letters, videos anymore. Okay, because it's very, very difficult to prove, I guess in a court of law that they're not abiding by the discrimination, or that they're not discriminating against your clients. So somebody's going to get in trouble. So I definitely recommend do not use buyer letters and do not accept them if you represent the seller.
Okay, thanks.
Yes, ma'am. So moving on, we have the statewide buyer and seller advisory. As you guys know, the one big change that they made recently, I don't remember if it was last year, is before we used to have to initial every single page of this. I think back then it was like 11 pages or something like that. So now the good news is the initials are gone. You only have to execute the last page. But the new change on the statewide buyer seller advisory is paragraph A14, which basically talks about the fire hardening and defensible space disclosure. Also, paragraph C6 is going to talk about wildlife, right? So we're going to look at that real quick. The form looks a little bit different, but just FYI, the statewide buyer seller advisory, it's always a requirement. Is it not? Is it always required? What do you guys think? Dun, 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 dun.
Yes.
I mean, you guys are all right.
Yes.
You guys are all right. However, keep in mind, it is an advisory. Okay, so legally, right? I'm not an attorney, blah, blah, blah. Legally, it's not. I mean, we could close an escrow without it, so to speak. But company policy and everything else, yes, it's a requirement. Most brokerages will require it. It does talk about the buyer's rights and duties. And that's the key word here, is their duties, their responsibilities, guys. Buyers don't have carte blanche to just do whatever they want. They have a job to do too, right? So it's up to us to explain to them, what is their job? What do they need to verify and investigate? It's right here in bold. You are strongly advised to investigate the condition and suitability of all aspects of the property. The seller also has things that they need to do. What's the most important thing that the seller has to do to a buyer? What do they got to do? Gouge them on price. No. What does the seller have to do to a buyer?
Disclose.
They got to disclose. And they have to disclose within a set time, which is 7 days, right? Unless it's changed in the contract. So they have a job to do. Guess what? The brokerage has rights and duties to take care of stuff too, right? So again, make sure you guys are familiar with this form. Table of contents. They're adding a table of contents to the SBSA. Categories by alphabetical index. You know what, guys? This is just literally all of the types of possible inspections, reports that a buyer or a seller can disclose, okay? The new ones on here, paragraph 14, fire hardening and wildfire disasters. Number 42, supplement property tax bill, has a couple changes on it, but I mean, it's on there. PACE loans was something that was added about maybe has it been like 3 years now? I don't even remember. And now there's this one, sea level rise. So I don't think we have anything to worry about that here just yet, but at some point California is going to go into the ocean. So we have to look at that as well, right? Septic systems, swimming pools, security, underground pipelines, Megan's Law, mediation, California Fair Plan, golf course disclosures, all kinds of stuff on this SBSA for our clients. But those are the main changes that they added. The fire, it's right here. Paragraph 14 in red, fire hardening and wildfire disasters. So it just talks about where they can get more information and that they're advised to take a look if the home is built prior to 2010 or is in a high fire area. Okay. So that's one of the changes on there. Again, it's not going to make or break your deal. I just want you guys to be familiar with these changes so that you guys are the most professional agents out there. Sea level rise, coastal properties. This is only going to apply obviously to coastal properties right now, but it is something that's on there. Contract related issues and terms. It talks about arbitration again. It talks about electronic signatures. I know that we have a wire fraud advisory, but how many of you guys are talking to your clients about electronic signatures and the dangers, and to make sure to verify what they're signing and when they're getting things not to sign unless they check with you? Something to take into consideration, guys. because we don't really disclose it, is make sure that they understand if they receive something that they should get a heads up from you as their realtor, I would suggest. The TCs, you know, I mean, you're sending out hundreds of emails a day and electronic signatures. If it's something pretty important or relevant to the transaction, make sure that the agent knows to just give a heads up to their client. That's what I would suggest, okay? So take a look at that, but those are the main changes on the SBSA. Moving on to the next one. All right, so this is one that we are seeing almost on every transaction now, right? Because most people are taking advantage of the market and they're starting to look to sell their property. But their number one question is, if I sell this house, where do I go? So we've been using this SPRP quite frequently, you guys. The only real big change on here is this right here in red. Let me see if I can enlarge it, if you guys can see that, hopefully. Before, it used to say that the seller is a purchase of replacement property. They had 17 days to find a replacement home. Well, now it says the agreement is contingent on seller entering into a contract to acquire or identify. Okay, basically identify and find a suitable property to move to. So that is already by default, you guys, 17 days to find or identify and open with a replacement property. But what if you find a house and you don't close escrow? So you got to keep in mind, I suggest if you use this form, you check the box, make it contingent that you are going to have to find, but also close on that replacement home. Any questions on that? I know that that's very important because some of you guys haven't done that. And if you use this form, you want to give your client time to find a home, but you want to make that contingency where they have to close on the replacement property as well. Any questions on that? I'm surrounded by rock stars. Awesome. No questions on the SPRP. I love it. All right, moving on. Last but not least, oh, that was it. Now I'm going to go right into the RPA. So let me stop sharing my screen here for a second. Where's everybody? All right, so pop quiz. Let's see. Who am I going to pick on? Somebody that's not on camera because you guys know everything, right? So look, everybody's starting to pop up. All right, so let's see. We got, oh, Brian Pujos. You know I got to pick on you because you're not in the office today. There he is.
Yes.
Hey, buddy. So, all right. So regarding the SPRP, seller's purchase a replacement property. So how many days do you have to find a suitable replacement home unless you change it by default?
17.
17 days, right? So if your client does not close on the transaction and that box is not checked, what happens? What do you think happens?
Well, the deal could fall apart.
Yeah, the deal can fall apart. So just keep in mind, guys, the SPRP, if you have a client, make sure you share with them the information that they can make it a contingency. They have to check the box that they are contingent on finding and closing, because I know this is going to come up. Becky, how much? I'll bet you lunch. Somebody's going to ask me, what box do I check, right? So just make sure you guys take a look at that and check that box, okay? So, and it's good seeing you, Brian. What's up? All right, so that was it on that. I just wanted to see everybody that was on the call real quick. So we got 35 of you guys. If there's no questions on those, I'm going to share my screen and get right into the purchase contract because that is a doozy. So again, I'm sure that there's going to be more changes to this. Okay, we have until December, you guys, but this is coming. We talked about this before. We shared it before. I'm going to share it again just so you guys can kind of be up to date on it and what's happening. You know, what's actually going on right now is, you know, when COVID happened, I mean, everybody with the board, they need to, you know, make sure that they can verify why they're getting paid. They have to change stuff up on us every single year. It sucks, but it is part of the business and the industry. And we want to make sure that we understand how to fill this out appropriately, right? So we're not covering line by line today, but I want to show you just kind of a glimpse of what this looks like. Obviously, agency is always the first thing that's most important in the contract. So that's still on page 1, but they've changed the financing of page 1. They kind of broke it down in a box type section, almost like an Excel version, talking about the purchase price, close of escrow. They almost made it like a summary, so to speak, so that you can show all the financial terms up front, okay? Purchase price, close of escrow, expiration of offer, initial deposit or EMD, increased deposit, if any, loan amounts, occupancy type is now on page 1, okay? So it's no longer on page 5 or 6 where it just said, oh, by the way, I'm an investor. It's now actually on page 1. Purchase price total. So they kind of just narrowed it down and almost summarized it, in my opinion, right? Pretty different. But then it carries on to page 2. So one of the biggest things that we always had to deal with was the costs of reports and inspections. So everything is broken down on page 2, including whether or not there's a sale of buyer's property, review of leased or liened items, including PACE and HERO liens, title report, et cetera, et cetera. Possession, document fees, and compliance. So again, I know it's adding pages to it, but it makes it a little bit easier to just kind of go line by line and say, okay, the seller has 7 days to deliver, disclosures. Escrow provisions, time to pay HOA documents, install smoke detectors, CO and water heater braces. So they've just kind of, I guess the best definition is they just made it into like a big summary. Okay. So items included, excluded. I know some of you guys remember there used to be a big paragraph that would explain what's included, excluded. A checklist, almost like a TDS. Allocation of costs. It's all on one page now. So even though they made it longer, they just, in my opinion, it's kind of just, you go line by line. So it makes it a little bit easier. And trust me, it's going to take a little bit of practice for us to get really good and quick at filling these out, right? Because we're not used to this. Other addendums, property addendums, it's all going to be on this page here. Initial deposit, again, if anything other than wire transfer is specified in paragraph 3D, and such method is unacceptable to the escrow holder, then upon notice from escrow, deliver by wire transfer. So wire transfer is the new way to do it. Magda, I'm going to mute you. Boom, done. All right, so loans, talks about that. Balance of purchase price, additional financing terms. It just goes on and on. Closing in possession, talks about that. Contingencies, nothing's changed as far as the days of contingencies, but it says in bold, if there's no appraisal contingency or the appraisal contingency has been waived, failure of the property to appraise at the purchase price, read that, does not entitle buyer to exercise the cancellation right. Okay, we're going to talk about that because it's been coming up still. Of course, the client has their time to investigate the property, and it goes on and on and on and on. And man, I'm tired from scrolling. That's how long this thing is. I'm barely on page 6, you guys. So I'm going to keep going here. But any questions on this so far? Crazy, right? Somebody's putting a chat. Let's see what they say. Oh, it was Magda. That's all right. So withholding of taxes, Megan's Law, buyer's investigations, still scrolling, still scrolling, still scrolling. And as you guys can see, it's getting longer and longer and longer and longer. So 16 pages, and I'm barely on 12. And here we go. So here's something different on one of the last pages. So acceptance. Okay, seller's acceptance is subject to the attached counteroffer or backup addendum or both, check below. So now they put them on check boxes, clear in your face so you can see if there is a counter. All right, and then entity sellers just talks about if there's going to be a RCSD required. Seller is advised to read all 16 pages, seller signs, buyer signs. Everything else looks kind of similar and for the most part. And that is the last page. Okay, so let me see if I can get out of here. A lot of information, right? A lot of new additions. Don't be intimidated by it, you guys. We're going to take it slowly. As it comes up, we're going to start looking at filling these things out. It's just going to take practice. It's going to take some getting used to. Yes, it's 16 pages, but for the most part, I think they did a good job. They broke it down. Now it's a big old long checklist. You got to go line by line. But understanding your contracts is different from just filling it out quickly, right? Make sure you guys, if you're new, if you're experienced and you haven't really updated your knowledge base as far as contracts and how it works, make sure you guys focus on that, because it's important to understand how to protect our clients in this market. Talking about that appraisal contingency. Who can tell me what happens if a home does not appraise? If you make an offer and the home does not appraise, can the seller cancel on you? Who wants to answer that? So you make an offer for $500,000, the home appraises for $400,000. You did not waive your appraisal contingency. Can the seller cancel? Can you cancel? What do you guys do? How do you guys work that situation? You submitted an offer.
Yes to both of those.
What's that? Andrea?
Yes to both of those. The seller can cancel or the buyer can cancel.
But there's a step that we're missing there. What has to normally
If
happen?
they don't agree in
Renegotiate.
negotiations to pay the difference or agree on a difference, then at that point, it becomes dead in the water if nobody agrees to pay the difference.
So
You should have had that entered into the actual RPA as a counter. The
Yes.
buyer to pay difference if house fails to appraise.
But let me break down this question a little bit further. So you guys are right, but here's the question is, so if you submit an offer for your client, Ray, I'm going to mute you for a sec. There we go. All right. If you submit an offer for your client for 500,000 or whatever, 500,000, okay? Appraisal comes in at 400,000. Let's pretend that nothing was added in the RPA, no appraisal contingency was waived, whatever, blah, blah, blah. What do you do at that point? What do you guys do as far as a best practice at that point in time? What would you guys do to protect?
Negotiate.
So you start off with negotiations, right? Did I see somebody's hand raised? Oh, start off with negotiations is one step. So yes, you got to pick up the phone, send an email, and Robin Stuckensteiner put challenge the appraisal, right? You can negotiate. So who's usually at the property when the appraiser comes by? The seller, the listing agent, correct? Not the buyer's agent. I mean, usually it's the listing agent. Who's normally responsible to try to make sure that the home, appraises is the listing agent. They're usually going to be there. Maybe they have comps, maybe they don't. I want you guys to think about this because again, in this market, in this business, especially dealing with new agents that are out there, okay? If you're representing a buyer, put a feeler out there, talk to that listing agent. Are you going to be at the appraisal appointment? Are you going to have comps? You guys need to help them along here because we're dealing with a lot of inexperienced real estate agents. It's very sad to say, but I believe April, and Terry, I see your hand, give me 1 second. I believe April of this year of 2021, we had more realtors in the US than we've ever had since 1910, since the start of NAR. Wow. So what does that tell you guys? Every single time the market heats up, we see more and more real estate agents.
It's frustrating because I can't seem to get lit.
So Terry, you had your hand raised. Go right ahead if you want to unmute first and then let us know. There you are.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, real good. One other thing to think about, I know that there's, an abundance of buyers out there, but also if the property, say if it's an FHA loan and the property doesn't appraise and you can't put the deal together, and now you have to put the property back on the market, the next buyer, if they're an FHA buyer, that FHA file number will follow with that buyer as well, correct? Excuse me, with the property. The FHA file number, the appraisal stays with the property for 90 days.
6 months.
The case number stays with the property for 6 months, you guys. So that's a good point.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
Terry.
now you're not limited.
When you're dealing with those FHA buyers. Now, I'll challenge that and say that most listing agents right now are being very, very selective when looking at multiple offers. Cash is always usually the most attractive to a seller. We all know that. VAs, as strong and good as an offer as they can be, a lot of sellers right now don't look at them as much because they're afraid of what comes with that. The fact that most VA offers can usually find deficiencies in the property that have to be paid and things like that. So you know, FHA, if you're able to get one accepted, just keep in mind, like as Terry mentioned, if you're a listing agent, that FHA appraisal is going to, or that HUD number or that FHA number, case number is going to stay with that property for 6 months. So, you know, it's going to be material fact. It's going to have to get disclosed. And if somebody's willing to pay over that price, they're going to have to pay the difference in cash. Okay. So keep that in mind, guys. But, you know, it's an interesting stat, and it's scary to think April of this year, we had more real estate licensees in the US than ever in the history of NAR, going all the way back to 1910. Okay. So, you know, we see this ebb and flow of real estate agents and licensees. I'm proud that, you know, we work with some of the best professional realtors here, because you guys take the time to actually learn your business, learn your trade, understand how to explain these things to your clients in the market. And that's one of the ways to get ahead in this business. When it's so competitive, the best thing you can do is understand and sell and know your value. And I've been talking about that more and more often with agents. You have to know your value proposition. What do you do differently? Well, I'll tell you right now, just looking on this screen, I know most of you are super, super familiar with your communities that you work in. You know what's going on in your local neighborhoods. You know what the numbers are. That makes a big difference, because if you go pick an agent off the street and you say, well, here I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, some of them don't even know what's out there and available. They don't even know what the price points are. So just truly understand your business, be familiar, and know your value proposition. And that's how you get ahead in this industry, in this type of market, in my opinion. So I'm glad that, you know, we take the time to really focus on training, focus on learning our trade, and, you know, keep in mind with the tools that we have, the KV core system. You know, I'm so glad that Marianne and some of you guys put out an email and said, or I think it was Marianne put out an email and said, hey, let's get a little mastermind group. Those of you guys that are familiar and really tech savvy and want to help each other out here, let's learn how to utilize this system. So KV Core has so much to offer, but, you know, we're starting to kind of find little ways that we can increase business by utilizing it. And that's the key, right? Is knowing how to create these landing pages, how to send out these market mails or email blasts and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. Stay involved with the training, you guys, and don't give up. Like I said, I'm telling you, we are seeing more and more inventory hit the market now, and it's starting to increase week over week. We're seeing it in our office. We're seeing it industry-wide. So we will have more inventory come June. We're going to see a little bit of a decline as far as the appreciation is concerned, but don't be so quick to tell people that you think it's going to be like 2008 again, because it's not. It's just not going to happen. Okay. So that's all I got for today, you guys. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Paul.
I just want to state, I know that Felipe mentioned that there was a federal judge that basically said that the CDC's moratorium on evictions was unconstitutional and struck it down. However, please do not go out and tell your owners that have rentals right now, because the California moratorium is still in effect until the end of June. And the U.S. Justice Department is appealing that decision. So there's no news on that out right now that that's actually going to occur, that it actually is going to be struck down and they're going to start doing the moratoriums or lifted moratoriums. The California moratoriums was in place prior to the CDC extending it out to the end of June. So don't be calling up your clients right now and saying, oh my gosh, you can evict your tenant now, because that is not the case. So please don't. And if you've already called them because of that, call them back and tell them, hey, hold off, because that's really not what's going on. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, don't advertise that information. I was just, you know, putting out what's happening right now so everybody's aware. But definitely don't advertise that information, and don't give crypto advice either to your friends and family. No financial advice. We have a crypto king. If you're not familiar with it, our Dogenaire is Richard Garcia. Is he in the office, or did he already quit because he made so much money? He's not.
No, he's taking an extended lunch here.
Taking extended lunch. We can't even write him up because the guy's so rich now. So for those of you guys interested in learning more about cryptocurrency and what's going on, you know, it's very interesting to see. We'll probably put together a fun little session where we can share with you guys what we've been doing, what we've been noticing. But as I told Richard and Paul, we are not financial advisors, so please don't invest any money because we said so. but it's been fun. It's been exciting to see everything and what's happening with cryptocurrency. It's pretty crazy. Andrea just texted, it's at 60 cents. It's insane. So fun time to be in the cryptocurrency investment world. You guys miss everybody. I hope everybody's going to have a great Cinco de Mayo. If anybody has any listings they want to promote, pitch, or share, any ideas, thoughts, now's the time to do it. Before I let everybody go, going once, going twice. Hey, have a great rest of the week. Happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody. Take care.